You might think this colorful powder is just another dangerous ultra-processed food. But what few people know is that similar shades of coloring have already been made from lead, petroleum, and even crushed insects. This one, however, is different. Behind this vibrant color lies a rare technology used by scientists and doctors to preserve food with its full potency intact, especially foods that target the brain. The name is complicated, but the concept is simple. Extract the best of nature and preserve it for much longer. It's no exaggeration to say this process has even been used by NASA to feed astronauts in space, and now it's arriving in your kitchen. And maybe this is the only way to protect your brain from what has been happening in silence. Recent studies show that 1 in 9 adults over the age of 60 already shows signs of mild cognitive impairment, and the scariest part is that many don't even notice it. You forget where you left your keys. You walk into a room and don't remember why. Words disappear. It seems normal, but it's not. The brain begins to shrink, connections weaken, and if nothing is done, you might even forget who you are. But there's good news. Scientists have discovered that certain foods can nourish specific regions of the brain responsible for memory, attention, and mental clarity. And we're not just talking about fruits, vegetables, or nuts. Today, science is reaching a new level. Encapsulated extracts, neuroprotective powders, natural actives, and even formulas inspired by clinical diets are becoming accessible. Many of them already available in regular markets, health stores, or even online. And today, you're going to learn how to identify them. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel now. Here, I share everything science knows, but few doctors have the time or interest to explain. Your health deserves more than empty promises. It deserves practical, reliable, and transformative knowledge. Controlled fermentation, the invisible power of probiotics in the brain. The real problem isn't processed food itself. The problem is the marketing that hides what's behind it. Nowadays, labels can say natural, sugar-free, high in fiber, and still hide a product full of additives, preservatives, colorants, and substances that silently inflame the brain. But here's a truth that's rarely spoken. Not all processed food is harmful. When the food industry uses real technology, like controlled fermentation, it can create foods with live microorganisms that offer real benefits for the brain. And this isn't just theory. Studies published in Frontiers in Neuroscience show that the presence of specific probiotics in the gut is directly linked to the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, and dopamine. And do you know where these compounds act? Exactly in memory, focus, and anxiety control. That's the power of controlled fermentation, an ancient technique that's now used with scientific precision to create yogurts and dairy drinks that strengthen the gut microbiota and improve communication between the gut and the brain. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Products like the famous Japanese yogurt with lactobacilli, known worldwide as Yakult, are popular examples, but they're not the only ones. You can find similar probiotics in grocery store yogurts as long as you know what to look for. To identify a good probiotic yogurt, it must say on the label that it contains live and active cultures. Look for names like lactobacillus or bifidobacillus. It should have few ingredients, milk, cultures, and at most, a light sweetener. And one key warning, stay away from those that contain corn syrup, artificial colorants, or too many preservatives. That ruins the benefit. Now imagine this being consumed daily for weeks. Little by little, the gut rebalances, systemic inflammation decreases, and the brain finally breathes with relief. It's common for people over 60 to report less brain fog and more clarity within the first few weeks of regular use. But of course, there are contraindications. Immunosuppressed individuals or those who use antibiotics chronically should always consult a doctor before starting probiotic use. And what happens if you don't pay attention to this? Well, the gut remains inflamed. Neurons stop receiving the right signals, and mental fog intensifies. Memory fails more. Fatigue hits earlier. The brain ages before the body. And this is just the beginning, because in the next section, we'll talk about an even more advanced technology used to protect natural compounds that would otherwise lose their effect before even reaching your brain. A nearly invisible breakthrough, but powerful. Microencapsulation, the invisible shield that protects what really matters. Have you ever stopped to think that what's on the label might not be reaching your brain? It's not an exaggeration. Marketing sells you a food rich in omega-3, full of antioxidants, or fortified with vitamin D. But what no one tells you is that most of those nutrients are destroyed before they're even absorbed by your body. Light, heat, oxygen, even shelf time, all of these attack the most important compounds. And the result? You eat thinking you're taking care of yourself, but in practice, you're being misled. That's where microencapsulation comes in, a technology developed to protect the most sensitive nutrients by creating an invisible capsule around them, like a microscopic shield. This shield prevents the compound from oxidizing, degrading, or losing its effect too soon. Think of it this way. Imagine you're sending a very important letter. You could put it in a regular envelope and hope it arrives intact, or you could use a reinforced, waterproof trackable box. Microencapsulation is that second option. It ensures the nutrient reaches its destination intact, your brain. And that makes all the difference. Because when you take a regular supplement with an exposed active compound, part of it is lost along the way. It oxidizes on the shelf, degrades in the stomach, or is eliminated before absorption. It's like paying for a ticket and not being allowed into the concert. With microencapsulation, you ensure that you're actually absorbing what you paid to consume. It's more effective, safer, and in the end, smarter. So yes, these products tend to cost a bit more, but they deliver on their promises. And if your goal is to protect your mind against forgetfulness, mental fog, and slow thinking, isn't it worth investing in something that could preserve your autonomy and identity for years to come? And the most incredible part, this capsule only breaks down in the right place inside your body, where the nutrient is absorbed at maximum potency. You know those omega-3 capsules that don't leave a fishy aftertaste? They were likely but this technology goes far beyond. It's already being used in products with turmeric, resveratrol, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, and even natural caffeine to maintain a prolonged and safe effect. That means with the right protected nutrients, your brain can reduce silent brain inflammation, improve short-term memory, increase focus and mental energy throughout the day. Protect brain cells from premature aging, but a word of caution, not every product uses this technology. To know if you're buying something truly effective, look for label terms like microencapsulated, controlled release, delayed absorption. E-stabilized active supplement brands aimed at the senior population often include this feature. And that's why capsules are gaining so much attention in cognitive prevention protocols. Not because they're miraculous, but because they're a precise, safe, and practical way to ensure your brain receives the right dose in the right way every single day. When well formulated, they deliver pure compounds without interference from sugar, salt, or unnecessary additives, which, let's face it, is increasingly rare in modern food. For those over 60, supplementing is not overkill. It's strategy. It's a way to protect what matters most: your mental clarity, your independence, your ability to remember those you love, and to keep doing the things that bring you joy. Now, if you think this is advanced, wait until you see the next technology. It was created to protect natural ingredients from heat degradation and transform everyday recipes into true brain treatments, all with flavor, convenience, and a touch of science. Low-temperature cooking. How to preserve neuroprotective actives in your meals. Many people try hard to eat better. They buy fish, vegetables, even natural spices. But then they throw everything in a boiling pot or blast it in a 480 degrees Fahrenheit oven until it's crispy. The result? The nutrients die, the taste fools you, and your brain waits for help that never arrives. The issue isn't the ingredients, it's the way they're prepared. Compounds like omega-3, polyphenols, flavonoids, and even some B-complex vitamins are extremely sensitive to high heat and long cooking times. If they're not preserved, they simply evaporate from your plate. That's where low-temperature cooking comes in, also known as slow cooking or sous vide in more sophisticated versions. This technique heats food slowly and in a controlled manner, avoiding temperature spikes that destroy bioactive compounds. The best part, you don't need any fancy equipment. Simple steaming, a stew simmered on low heat, or even covering a pot with warm water for longer can all be effective ways to use this approach daily. Want a practical example? A study published in the Journal of Food Science showed that cooking salmon at low temperature preserves up to 30% more omega-3 compared to traditional hot oven cooking. And that changes everything, especially when we're talking about an inflamed brain. With neurons needing healthy fat for protection, it's like switching from a bomb to a breeze. Instead of attacking the food, you respect its structure. And what ends up on your plate is more than tasty. It's functional. It's therapeutic. And if you're thinking, but that sounds like too much work, know that most recipes can be adapted with just a simple tweak in time and temperature. It's not harder. It's just more intentional. And if you're still not convinced that this level of care makes a difference, think of it this way. If the right food, prepared the wrong way, doesn't protect your brain, then it may actually be accelerating its deterioration. Coming up next, the secret of vacuum sealing, where flavor and science meet to save your memory. Have you noticed how many foods seem healthy until you check the expiration date or smell them? What few people know is that much of the nutritional value of food is lost before it even reaches your table, especially in the case of delicate ingredients like omega-3 rich fish, aromatic herbs, seeds, and functional spices. That's because most foods are packaged with air. And air, specifically, oxygen, is a silent enemy. It oxidizes active compounds, alters flavor, destroys vitamins, and turns what looks healthy into something that's already lost its power before you even cook it. The solution? Modern preservation technologies like vacuum sealing and modified atmosphere packaging. These processes remove oxygen from the environment and control factors like humidity, temperature, and light exposure. As a result, the most delicate nutrients such as the fatty acids in salmon or the essential oils in rosemary remain stable, potent, and ready to act in your body. That's why, when I prepared the salmon recipe for my father, who had been struggling with memory lapses and mental confusion, I made sure to choose vacuum-sealed ingredients and seasonings in opaque jars. With a recent packaging date, the recipe is simple but powerful, and the difference lies in the details. If you want to learn the step-by-step for this recipe, including tips on how to choose the right ingredients and how to prepare it using a method that preserves all its active compounds, click the pinned link in the comments. It's also helpful for those who are just beginning to notice that their mind isn't quite the same anymore. Now you'll discover that even chocolate can be an ally for your brain if it's made using a technology that preserves its active flavonoid. Most chocolates you find out there have no real effect, but there is an exception. Let me explain. Functional chocolate, the technology that determines whether it inflames you or protects you. Few people know this, but chocolate, that same one you may have avoided in recent years, can be one of the most powerful brain foods. That is, of course, if it's the right kind and made the right way. Behind the sweet taste lies a precious ingredient, cocoa. Cocoa is rich in flavonoids, especially epicatechin, a compound that, according to studies published in the Journal of Neuroscience, stimulates blood flow to the brain, improves short-term memory, and reduces brain inflammation. But here's the problem. Most of the chocolate on the market completely loses this benefit. That's because cocoa, when industrialized, typically goes through a harsh alkalization process used to soften the flavor and darken the color. The problem? That process eliminates up to 90% of the flavonoids. It's like buying a luxury car without the engine. But there is an alternative: functional chocolate made with controlled cocoa fermentation and mild or no alkalization. This method, used by more conscious brands and even small artisanal producers, preserves the neuroprotective compounds in their active, bioavailable form. And how can you identify it at the store? Here's what to look for. Look for chocolates with at least 70% cocoa. Avoid those that list processed with alkali early in the ingredient list. Prefer brands that highlight the use of raw cocoa, natural fermentation, or say, rich in flavonoids. The less sugar and milk in the formula, the better for your brain. And here's the most interesting part. A small daily dose, about 10 grams to 20 grams per day of high-purity chocolate with preserved flavonoids, can act as a natural cerebral vasodilator. That means more oxygen reaching your brain, better focus, and less mental fatigue. But be careful. If you keep consuming ultra-processed chocolates with too much sugar, hydrogenated fat, and heavily alkalized cocoa, the effect is the opposite. They inflame your body, overload your liver, and may accelerate cognitive decline. In the next segment, we'll reveal an even rarer technology used by scientists and doctors to preserve food with virtually 100% of its potency intact. It's what gives rise to the famous purple powder you saw in the introduction. And what it does to the brain may surprise you. The violet freeze-dried powder, the technological superfood coming to your kitchen. Remember that vibrant powder shown at the beginning of the video. A lot of people, at first glance, think, this can't be healthy. and that's understandable. The food industry has deceived us so many times with colorful, ultra-processed products full of sugar and artificial coloring that now anything that doesn't look natural raises suspicion. But that skepticism, although justified, sometimes prevents us from recognizing real scientific advances. What you saw there is the result of one of the most powerful technologies in modern nutrition: freeze-drying, a process so precise that it was used by NASA scientists to ensure astronauts had access to whole foods with taste, color, and nutrients preserved even in space. Unlike regular dehydration, which uses heat and destroys sensitive compounds, freeze-drying works by freezing. The food is subjected to extremely low temperatures, and then the water is removed slowly and carefully without direct heat. What's left is a light, dry powder, but with the biochemical structure almost fully intact, as if the fruit had just been harvested. And that changes everything, because many of the most powerful brain foods like blueberry, acai, purple beet, and dark grapes are fragile. They spoil easily, lose potency in a few days, and are difficult to consume regularly. But when freeze-dried, they become true therapeutic concentrates, easy to store, transport, and use. That violet powder you saw, for example, is made from a combination of purple fruits with extremely high antioxidant power. Research shows that the compounds in these fruits help improve blood flow in the brain, reduce chronic inflammation, and support communication between neurons. In other words, they help the brain stay young, sharp, and protected. And the best part is, you don't have to do anything complicated. Just mix a small amount into your natural yogurt, a smoothie, a healthy cake recipe, or even a glass of water. The flavor is pleasant, the color is natural, and the benefit is silent but profound. It's as if you were feeding your mind every day with exactly what it needs and what it most rarely receives. Of course, it's important to know how to choose. Not every colorful powder is good. Some are just mixtures of sugar, maltodextrin, and artificial coloring. But the good products are easy to identify. They include terms on the label like freeze-dried or lyophilizado, use only pure ingredients without additives, and come in opaque packaging with recent production dates. A simple precaution that makes all the difference. The truth is that most people are trying to eat better, but without realizing that the truly active compounds are being lost during harvesting, transportation, or cooking. And that's why freeze-drying represents more than just a technology. It represents a bridge between the best of nature and your brain. You don't need to change everything at once, or live off raw leaves, or esoteric recipes that require rare ingredients. The truth is, with a few smart substitutions and a more attentive look at food labels, you're already beginning to create an internal environment that supports memory, mental clarity, and long-term brain health. You can still shop at the same supermarket, but now you'll know how to look for yogurts with truly live cultures. You can keep eating chocolate, but now, with at least 70% cocoa and no harsh alkalization, you can choose vacuum-sealed salmon instead of a fish that's been sitting on ice for days. And you can start trying freeze-dried purple fruit powders at breakfast, knowing there's a force in there that goes far beyond just color. What used to be just branding and marketing is now knowledge. And knowledge changes everything. Now tell me, among all the tips you saw here, which one seems easiest for you to start with? Leave a comment below. I read everything, and maybe I can help you directly there. And make sure to subscribe to the channel, because every new person who joins us strengthens this movement of conscious health, especially for those who don't have easy access to doctors, books, or specialists. And if you found this information helpful, know that there's something even more urgent you need to understand. There's one detail in your diet that may be going unnoticed, and it could be accelerating the aging of your brain. Watch this next video. You'll discover which nuts are the worst for your mind and which ones you should be eating nearly every day. See you there.